For over a decade, one number stood untouched at the top of World Cup history: 16 career goals. A German striker set that mark back in 2014, and nobody had come close to it since. This tournament, for the first time in years, two different active players arrived within real range of it. One is an Argentine forward in his sixth and likely final World Cup, chasing the record directly. The other is a French forward in only his third World Cup, somehow keeping pace goal for goal. They were former club teammates for several seasons, on opposite sides of this exact tournament now. Entering this World Cup, they sat almost level: 13 career goals for one, 12 for the other. Both were expected to add to that total. Few predicted just how quickly they'd actually do it. The record itself, 16 goals, suddenly looked less like a monument and more like a formality. Keep both tallies in mind. This tournament turned into a genuine two-player race for football history. The Argentine forward opened with a hat trick in his very first match, an emphatic start to the chase. That alone pulled him level with the old record, with the entire tournament still ahead of him. Days later, in the team's second group match, he added one more, breaking the record outright. A second goal in that same match pushed his tally even further clear of the previous mark. He'd broken a record that had stood for over a decade in barely more than a single week of play. The French forward, meanwhile, was building his own case with the same relentless efficiency. A brace in one group match, then more in the following rounds, kept him within a single goal throughout. He also became his country's all-time leading scorer this tournament, breaking a national record along the way. By the knockout rounds, both men had tied the old record, then passed it, within days of each other.
Neither one built distance on the other for long. Every goal from one was answered by the other, almost immediately.
The French forward has scored the most goals in World Cup knockout stage history, a separate record of his own. 10 knockout goals in just 9 career knockout appearances, a scoring rate no other player has matched. The Argentine forward, for his part, became the oldest man in decades to score 4 or more goals in a single tournament. He's also just the third player ever to score 4+ goals across 3 separate tournament editions. As of July 11th, entering the semi-final round, the count stood at 21 goals for the Argentine, 20 for the Frenchman. At that point, a single goal separated the two players at the very top of World Cup history, with matches still remaining. This tournament's Golden Boot race runs on a related but separate track: goals scored in this edition alone. On that count, the two men are currently tied, 8 goals apiece in this tournament specifically. When totals are tied, the tiebreaker shifts to assists, a mark of team contribution beyond just scoring. There, the Frenchman currently leads, 3 assists to the Argentines' 1, for a slim overall edge. It's a real reminder that goal-scoring races often come down to more than just the goals themselves. Across his career, the Argentine actually holds the better overall assist tally between the two, historically. He averages an assist roughly every 4.5 World Cup matches played, across 2 decades. The Frenchman's career assist rate is close behind, roughly 1 every 4 matches across his own 3 tournaments. Their scoring styles differ too. Recent goals from the Frenchman have increasingly come from outside the box. Early in his career, almost all of his goals came from close range, inside the penalty area itself.
That shift suggests a forward adding new tools to his game, not simply repeating the same finishes.
The Argentine's game has always leaned on vision and placement more than raw power or pace. At this stage of his career, that style ages better than pure speed would, extending his effectiveness.
Both approaches have produced nearly identical results this tournament, arriving from very different directions.
Neither player has needed penalties to build most of their tally, relying mostly on open play finishing instead. That detail matters to analysts who weigh scoring records differently depending on how the goals actually came. It's rare for a sport's all-time record to be genuinely contested by 2 players in the very same tournament. Usually a record falls once to one player and stands untouched again for years afterward. This time the record didn't just fall. It became a live, ongoing contest between 2 familiar rivals. At that point, both remained in the tournament heading into the semifinal round on opposite sides of the bracket. That meant both still had realistic chances to add to their totals before the tournament concluded. This video captures that specific moment before the semifinals rather than guessing the tournament's final tally. What's already true, regardless of what happens next, is that both men have rewritten the record books. A record that stood for over a decade fell twice within days to 2 different players at once. That's a genuinely rare kind of sports history, the sort that usually takes generations to repeat. Their rivalry isn't new. They shared a locker room for years at club level before this tournament. Reporters have asked each of them directly who they consider the best player at this World Cup. The Frenchman, without hesitation, named his Argentine rival as the answer, publicly and unprompted. That kind of mutual respect is rare in a rivalry this closely and publicly contested, goal for goal. It suggests both men see this less as a personal battle and more as a shared historic moment. Whichever of them finishes with more goals, the other's tally will still stand as the second highest ever recorded.
That's a strange kind of consolation prize, falling just short of a teammate's rival's all-time record.
It also means whichever of their national teams goes further will likely carry the bigger individual headline too. Individual records and team success don't always align neatly, but this tournament has kept them remarkably close. Golden Boot races have historically gone to players whose teams also advance deep into the tournament. Extra matches mean extra chances to add to a tally, a simple but often decisive mechanical advantage. Both men, by reaching the semifinals, have already guaranteed themselves at least one more chance to add to it. Whether either uses that chance to pull clear is, again, a question this video can't answer in advance. What can be said is how unusual it is for a record chase to still be this tight, this deep into a tournament.
Most individual records get settled well before the final rounds, once the chasing pack has been eliminated. This one has survived the entire bracket intact, both contenders still standing at the final four. That alone makes whatever happens next worth watching closely, regardless of which team a viewer supports.
Records like this one tend to get remembered less for the final number and more for the chase itself. Two players, one record, and a shared history that made the whole thing feel personal without turning bitter. However the numbers finish, that combination is what will likely stick in memory the longest.
Sports records are, in the end, just numbers on a page until a story like this one gives them weight. This one has weight now, whichever of the two names ends up sitting on top when the tournament closes.
For now, the record simply belongs to both of them, together, at the very top of the same list. That's a fitting image for a rivalry built on respect as much as raw competition, goal for goal. Whatever the final tally reads when this tournament ends, both numbers will outlast the scoreline that gets them there. Records like this rarely stay still for long. Someone, eventually, will chase both of these totals down too. For now though, the record belongs to this tournament and to two players who pushed each other to reach it.